traffic, which we're going to dive into, show you a few tips on how to do that, and walk through that. We'll go ahead and get this kicked off. If you're not supposed to be on the blogging and SEO webinar, chances are you picked the wrong flight somewhere along the way, and we'll give you a moment to switch flights before we pull off from the terminal here. But we'll get this going. Our agenda for today, we're going to talk about SEO first. We're going to talk about why ranking matters. That's a pretty obvious question, but what the search engines look for and what you can do about it. Give you some tips there. And then with blogging, we're going to talk about why blog, and we're going to spend most of our time talking about 5 steps to a great blog and helping you identify some of those things, as well as share some of the tools that we use when we're working on blogging on behalf of our clients, how we do those things, a few tricks of the trade that we've developed over the years, some different software we use and things like that. So hopefully help you all know where you stand with your own blog, your own website, as well as get a little competitive intelligence and some of that. So looking forward to sharing those tips with you guys, and encourage you to take notes along the way. And again, use your chat panel for any questions and answers we can help you out with at the end. So why does ranking matter? Your website's traffic is a specific function of where you rank on search engines for specific keywords and keyword phrases. So everybody knows that getting ranked on Google is important. But what a lot of people don't think about, because of the way SEO companies have positioned it in the past or whatever else, they think about terms like, and we're just going to stick with the example we've been using throughout our sessions so far, if you've been with us for those, the governor's house in Charleston, South Carolina. You know, it's important for them to rank for terms like bed and breakfast Charleston SC, bed and breakfast in Charleston SC, inns in Charleston SC, those types of terms that are probably pretty obvious and that you can probably identify right out of the gate. But one of the biggest things that we look at and really encourage business owners, specifically innkeepers, to think about is not just what we call short tail keyword phrases, which are things like I just talked about, bed and breakfast in your city name, or bed and breakfast your city name. But think about some of the long tail phrases that people might be searching for when they're planning a trip to your city, whether that be specific festivals that they're looking for information on. Maybe you have a marathon in your town once a year, and that's a great way to write blogs about those types of things and get the content wrapped around those topics. We'll talk about that more in depth, but the biggest thing I want you to take away from the why does ranking matter is that being ranked on the first page is crucial to the success of your business. A lot of times we'll typically see 40% of an inn's website traffic coming from search engines. So if you use Google Analytics and you're not at 40%, I'd say it's a pretty good industry standard. Would say that there's a lot of potential left on the table there that you're not taking advantage of. If you're above 40% of your traffic, it may mean that some of your other sources of traffic aren't performing as well as they should. But 40% is a good average, and then the number of keywords that you rank for is by and large more important than probably any other search engine optimization factor. More important than where you rank for specific short tail phrases like bed and breakfast, your city name, is the number of keywords that you rank for. Knowing that the number of keywords drives the number of visits that you have potential to get. So really encourage people when they're doing that to really focus on number of keywords and looking at long tail phrases, not just short tail. Again, long tail phrases being wrapped around city names, wrapped around events going on, wrapped around things that your area is famous for. In Charleston, we're famous for Southern food. We're famous for our beaches. We're famous for our history. So wrapping blogs and keywords around those types of things, knowing that people are out there looking for them, and we'll talk about how to do that a little bit as well. Some other great questions to ask yourself is how do guests find your inn, or ask your guests how they found your inn if you don't know. And listen to what they say, and they're going to tell you, oh, I found you on the internet, because that's just the default answer nowadays. But if you could ask that follow-up question and don't just settle for that, and understand, well, how did you find us? Did you find us on Google? Did you find us via search? And try to ask a little bit. Don't probe to the point that it's creepy, but ask enough that you get some intelligence about it, and try to track that as best you can. You can also use your Google Analytics to do the same thing and see what keywords you're getting traffic from and answer a lot of those questions without having to ask guests. We can show you how to do that in a one-on-one call. One of the things we're going to do today as part of your homework is actually encourage you to dive into your specific Google Analytics. So, and then ask people what they're searching for. So what are the common questions that you get from guests? When you're playing concierge at your inn or innkeeper side of things, what are the questions people are asking? Are they asking for a place to get great lobster up in the Cape area? We have an innkeeper who shared some success with us. He may be on the call with us today, actually. But I shared some success around blogging about things like that. What are the questions they're asking when they come into the inn? Because chances are, if they're asking you when they come into the inn that question, they're asking Google that question before they get to your inn. And if you show up when they're asking Google that question, the chance that you have an opportunity to book that booking goes up significantly. So this kind of expands on that a little bit, shows you a little bit of traffic from that specific long tail keyword. But you can see this is an example of the governor's house in Charleston, how many visits they had from that keyword. Google organic, Google being the source, organic traffic being the medium, as compared to paid traffic, which could be an option there as well. Pages per visit, visit duration, all important factors to driving traffic. And then the number of keywords they're ranking for would be what we would consider the most important piece of that puzzle. So what the search engine is looking for? When a search engine looks at your website, what are they specifically looking for? It's very different than what your guests are looking for. So they're looking for depth of content. They're looking for lots of information. You may have heard this kind of story said by other companies in the past, but all things aside, design aside, everything aside, the number one factor that drives search engine optimization is the depth of content on your site. And how that plays itself out typically is the number of pages that your site has. And this is a key place that blogging comes in, because blogging, every time you publish a blog, you're basically publishing a keyword-rich page to your site, assuming you do it correctly. So making sure that you're publishing blogs on a regular basis and publishing them around keywords drives the depth of content on your site. The depth of content of your site drives the number of keywords that you're ranking for, how high you're ranking, and some of those types of things. So this is an example of a blog that we wrote for the Governor's House Inn, specifically around Spoleto Festival, which is one of the big festivals in the Charleston area, and people are looking to come to town for accommodations for that. We know Spoleto Festival is kind of the upper income of the market, and we know that those are our perfect guests. So identifying our ideal guests, the types of things they like to do, and then blogging about those, and then you'll see there what were the number 5th result for accommodations for Spoleto Festival. I would encourage you all to perform that Google search and verify that this isn't just a graphic we photoshopped together. But really encourage you to go after those keywords, drive the number of keywords you rank for, and drive traffic as a result of that. An important part of that when we're looking, so search engine optimization breaks down into two different ballparks. There is the on-site side of things, which is everything, all the content of your website, and then there's the off-site. On-site is wrapped around content, blogs, images, those types of factors, how well it's positioned and structured. Off-site is about other websites who link to you, who interact with you, your social media, some of those factors play into off-site. Today we're going to focus our energy talking about on-page or on-site optimization. Specifically when we look at that, we look at making sure that your images have alt text on them. If you don't know what alt text is, I'd be happy to connect with you on that. Just shoot me an email or drop it in the chat panel. If anybody doesn't know, we'll talk about it more in depth, or just Google it. But alt text basically is a way to tell Google what your image is an image of. Google can't see pictures. The algorithm can't see pictures, so we have to tell it what pictures are of. And a great way to do that, instead of just saying, oh, this is a picture of a historical location in my city, is to use the keyword that you're trying to rank for. So if you're trying to rank for accommodations for Spoleto Festival, maybe we have a picture of the Spoleto headquarters, and instead of just saying Spoleto headquarters, we say accommodations for Spoleto Festival with our alt text. We also encourage you all to sign up for Google Analytics. Use that on a regular basis to see where you're ranking and the terms you're ranking for. As part of our homework today, just a little teaser in there, is to sign up for the analytics audit that we're going to offer for free to everybody, where we'll help you understand how to read your Google Analytics, what the data in there means. There's a ton of data. If you don't know how to use it, it's not much use to you. So we'll teach you how to use that data to drive traffic and make decisions on what you're doing from a marketing perspective. But always develop your content and your blogs with keyword best practices. So as you're developing content, you're developing blogs, do your keyword research so that you know where those things are ranking, or what keywords you want to be ranking for, what variations of keywords you want to rank for, and we'll share some tips along the way about how to do that as well. Specifically, some of that software we're going to be using to do that is Google Analytics. The other is the Google Keyword Tool, which is available for free. You have to create a Google AdWords account, which is also free. Once you create a Google AdWords account, you can use the Google Keyword Tool, and you can put in different websites, whether they be yours or your competitors. Google will give you suggestions about keywords you should be targeting based on those things. We've also talked briefly on previous sessions about HubSpot software. They have a really powerful software. It's a bit cost prohibitive for some innkeepers, but they have some free tools out there as well that we would encourage all to use. And I want to walk through that with you real quick. Specifically, one of the tools we love of theirs is what's called their search grader. And their search grader will give you a quick report on anything that any website on the internet is ranking for, the estimated organic traffic they're getting from that, and the approximate monthly value of that traffic. So I'm going to show you an actual example of that, and as well as show you the domain that you can use to get access to that search grader. So hopefully this will show up on your screen here as everything's updating. We use Select Registry. We work with a lot of Select Registry ends and encourage our innkeepers where it makes sense for them to be a part of Select Registry, and love what the people at Select Registry are doing for the industry. And so we use them as an example, one, because of that, but more importantly, because they are a great example of using blogging to drive traffic to their website, which then, of course, helps their member ends. So when we look at selectregistry.com, you'll see they have an overall grade of 82. This is on a scale of 0 to 100. Now, we've been connecting with a lot of you on your marketing grader reports, which give you a marketing grade on your overall marketing. Part of that factors in your search. This specifically just looks at search. But your marketing grader, we've been talking with a lot of you on and having a great time connecting with you, as well as sharing tips to help you better market your end. If you hadn't had a chance to take advantage of that, I would encourage you to do so. Just shoot me an email, reply to any of the emails you've received from me, and we'll get you hooked up with our marketing grader report totally free of charge. So once we look at the overall grade, what's really more important to me are these next two numbers. They have 1,360 keywords ranking in the top 20 on Google. So when you think about that, 1,360 unique keywords. So you may have an SEO company who's told you in the past, I'm trying to go after 3 keywords or 5 keywords or 10 keywords, and they give you this monthly package, and everything's going to be great. And that's, there's definitely value in that. I'm not saying that there's not. There are keywords you need to do that with, some of the more competitive ones. But you need to change the way you think about it and think about the number of keywords you're going after and using your blog to do that. So this will show us some of the ones they're ranking for. A lot of these are specific pages on their site, specific member ends. But here's a great example. I know there's a lot of you joining us from the Florida Bed and Breakfast Association on today's call. Romantic getaways in Florida is a keyword that Select Registry is ranked in the top 10 for. They're ranked number 7 according to this report. And you can see here that the way they got ranked was that they have a blog written. So it's blog.selectregistry.com/2012/romantic getaways in Florida. So you see how the keyword they're ranking for specifically matches the title of their blog and the URL of that blog, which helps them rank. And that's, this is a list of 10 of those 1,360. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us the entire list, but helps us really get an understanding of the strength of someone's blogging and search engine positioning. This is one of the many things that we do for our clients, is look at this to understand where they are and also track where we can take them. The cost per click is a great way to estimate how competitive a particular term is. The higher this estimated cost per click is, the more competitive that term is. So Vendoin, which is actually another inn here in Charleston, coincidentally enough, not a super competitive term. It's only 65 cents if we wanted to buy traffic using pay-per-click with Google or Bing or something like that. So low competition, which tells me that it's going to be relatively easy for me if I'm trying to rank for this keyword. It's going to be relatively easy for me to get ranked for that keyword because it's less competitive. So in that sense, I would write a blog around that keyword. I would do it according to blogging best practices, and hopefully we'd get ranked for that over a period of time. You can see they're currently ranked position number 11 for that keyword. The nice thing about that keyword and the great thing about this report is that it tells us how many monthly searches they have as well. So we have 2,900 monthly searches on that keyword term Vendoin. So that tells me, based on the low competitiveness of it, the high monthly searches, but this would be a great keyword potentially to go after. If you ignore the fact that it's a specific in name, if we think about it, in other terms, romantic getaways in Florida might be a better example of that, being that they're ranked 7. The cost per click is quite a bit higher, $1.81, it's about triple, but not crazy high, and there's 1,600 monthly searches. What we typically want to stay away from are keywords that have a high cost per click, meaning they're really expensive, they're really competitive, and low monthly search volume, because there's just not many people looking for it, and it's not going to add a lot of value to us. I'm not saying that you have to buy this traffic. What I'm saying is that if you do your website well and you do your blog well, you will organically rank for these keywords, and the value that you get from them is just shown here, and it's also shown to show how competitive it is, so that you can see if you were to buy that traffic, how much you'd be spending to buy it. But if you blog and you do your blogging and your search engine optimization on site well, you can rank for it organically and not have to buy the traffic. So that brings us to this fourth number at the top here, which shows us an approximate monthly value of organic traffic. So if we look at these 5,257 visits, that's not what they're spending to get these visits. That's what they would have to spend if they didn't have this organic ranking where it is. And of course, these are estimations. None of these are perfectly accurate. It's just kind of giving us the best information it can. But this is a great way to do some competitive research, see what competitor ends are ranking for in your market. It's a great way to also keep track of what you're ranking for. And ideally, if you're publishing more blogs every month, this number, this ranking keywords in the top 20, should constantly be growing month after month after month. That number should grow if you're doing your blogging and your keyword research well. So I know that's kind of a lot of information. Feel free to send me any questions that you might have on that, and we'll put those in the chat panel. We'll get those questions addressed in the Q&A time of our call today. But that really is a great way of understanding where you rank for certain keywords, and a great way to kind of drive that point home. The Google Keyword Tool also has great information. It's not quite as simple and user-friendly. It also won't tell you where your particular site is ranked or a competitor particular site is ranked, but it is a way to do good keyword research and determine what keywords you want to go after to help you out there. We talked about this a bit earlier, but expanded on it here. Another great way to find keywords to rank for is to ask in social media. Social media, Facebook specifically, has added the questions feature within the last little while or so. You can ask the questions feature on your Facebook page to ask people when they're searching, what types of things are they searching for? How do they phrase their search terms? As well, you can ask what blogs you should be writing. You could give them a little survey on there and say, which blog would you rather read? Would you rather read blog A with the title How to Make a Great Quiche, or would you rather read blog B about the stroll down the Battery in Charleston? So some great ways to get content ideas, as well as see what people are interested in hearing about. Right as I make my point about quiche sets up well for this transition into the blogging side of things, which it all ties together. Hopefully you're getting that blogging and SEO tie closely together. There are important aspects that are unique to each, but really blogging is about driving traffic by getting ranked for more keywords. It's not about what you had for breakfast. Nobody cares if you served quiche, because they're not there to eat it if they're reading your blog. I'm not saying it's not important to keep guests up to date with what's going on in the kitchen. We all know cooking a gourmet breakfast is one of my favorite parts of visiting our inns. Actually, my screen name on some of the travel sites is Will Travel for Food. So you may see me on there under that screen name. I love eating with our innkeepers when we go out to see them, but it's not a great thing to blog about. It's a great thing to put in your social media feed. If you just baked this killer new blueberry muffin recipe, I was at an inn a few weeks ago. They were testing out some new blueberry muffins. I was happy to help them with that testing and taste testing process. But that's not what you should be blogging about. What you should be blogging about is increasing traffic to your website, specifically around keywords. Now, the only exception to that is when you can capture traffic around recipes or things like that are a good way to do that. Specifically, Pinterest is a great place to share recipes and to get traffic to your website from those, but we know that the chances if someone's looking for a blueberry muffin recipe, that they're also trying to book a trip to your city, are relatively rare. So we tend to stay away from that type of thing, but you can capture some traffic that way. But knowing your goal is what's really important here. Our goal is to increase traffic, and we need to be blogging accordingly. So here's kind of our 5 steps to a better blog on your website. We're going to talk through each of these and give you a little bit of research. We're not writing a ton of text in here on these, so I'd encourage you to take notes. Some of them might seem a little obvious, but number 1, implement a blog on your website. I put the emphasis on the word on there for a reason. We see a lot of innkeepers and web companies out there who have set up blogs that are not on the client's website. They may have a WordPress blog or a Blogspot blog that's actually hosted on a different domain. Your blog should be a part of your site in that the domain of your blog, the URL, should either be blog.yourbedandbreakfast.com, whatever your bed and breakfast name is, of course, or yourbedandbreakfast.com/blog or /bedandbreakfastblog. That's important because if it's a part of your domain, you get all the keyword juice, if you will, or keyword ranking for those terms, and you're telling Google that all this content I'm publishing is a part of my website, which drives your website's ranking. If you're blogging on someone else's platform, a WordPress off-site platform, or a Blogspot, or there's tons of them out there, you're actually giving those platforms all of that content to drive traffic to those platforms, not helping yourself out. So your blog should be a part of your website. It's the key takeaway there. The second step to having a great blog is doing that keyword research. Using the Google keyword tool, just doing keyword searches to see how many people show up, who if your competitors are there, those types of things. Asking guests the questions that they have, the things they're looking for, making notes of questions that your guests ask you on a regular basis. This is a practice we walk through with a lot of innkeepers when we're beginning working with them, is just say, what are the top 10 questions that guests asks you when they call and they're considering making a booking? One, because we incorporate those questions into the website better, to tell the story better, to increase the conversion ratio of people coming to the site to people actually booking. But 2, we also use that as a lot of motivation and inspiration for blog topics, knowing that blog topics are always hard to come up with for people. And then the other way would be using that the HubSpot search grader, which if you didn't catch the URL of that earlier, I'll give that to you now. It's www.search.grader.com. Again, www.search.grader.com. You can go on there and check out where you rank, the number of keywords you rank for, as well as your competitors, and get that information. But do know it is an estimate, so it's not 100% accurate. Great way to start. Performing audience and market research kind of ties in with doing the keyword research, but that can also using the social media like we talked about to survey people, find the kind of topics that they're looking for, those types of things. It's also a great way to connect. We specifically talked about last week on our social media webinar, connecting with local events in your area and sharing their status on your social media platforms. By writing blogs about their events and those types of things, you're being a good steward to your community, you're helping promote their events, and you're building relationship with the people responsible for putting those events on. So when they get asked, hey, where should I stay when I'm coming to town for your event, and they know that you've been blogging and talking about their event, you've been sharing their stuff on social media, you've gained a lot of credibility, you've invested in their relationship, they're more likely to refer you at that point because they know you're invested in them, and they're willing to kind of reinvest in you as well. You can also, if you write a blog about an event or a tour or something like that in your area, it's a great way to say, hey, so-and-so tours, jet ski tours or history tours or haunted tours or farm tours or whatever. We just wrote this blog about you guys because we love sending our guests, and they always tell us how much fun they have when they go on your tour. It'd be great if you could share this with your fans and so forth. And that's a way to get links back to your website. They say, hey, we were just featured on the Governor's House blog. Check it out here. They share it in social media, makes all their clients and their fans aware of your in as well, and a great way to kind of get that link, incoming links back to your site and to use your blog content well in social media. The fourth step is developing a blog calendar. One of the things we hear most often is I have no idea what to blog about. Well, we answered that hopefully through keyword research, but the next is that I run out of time. We know that you're in a relatively very seasonal business a lot of times, and that you're incredibly busy during the busy season, but at the same time there's some slower times in the off season. So the off season is a great time to build a database of blogs that you kind of have ready to go that you can post during the busier time. So getting that out building up 5, 10, 15, 20 blogs kind of in your pocket, if you will, so that if you have a busy week or a busy day, you can still publish a blog. You just got to make sure that you don't get lazy and just start pulling out of your database every time because I'm too busy today. And before you know it, your pocket full of blogs is empty. So use those, when you need to, when something really comes up, but have that. Also, a blog calendar or a content calendar. If you email me, I can give you the template we use for all of our clients. I'll be happy to share that with you as a way to kind of organize your thoughts. It's a great way to help you or your staff stay organized around what you're blogging about and plan out your year. So you can plan your year around particular topics, particular festivals, those types of things, and really kind of lay that out for the course of the year and push that content regularly. And getting that scheduled will create some accountability for you to really say, okay, I scheduled this month, I'm going to write these 5 topics. I've got to commit to doing that, or I've got to train one of my staff members to do that. At Q4Launch, we have an 11-step process that our staff walks through. Every time we're writing a blog for a client, we've developed an 11-step process with peers of our industry, with HubSpot, to really say, okay, these 11 steps lead to success in the blogging sphere. So we know if we follow these 11 steps, that our blogs are more likely to get ranked on Google, get traffic to our client's website, and increase their bookings over a period of time. So as you're blogging and doing those sort of things, figure out what works for you, and kind of develop that best practice template for yourself to say, this is how we do it. And then as you're hiring more staff, or staff are coming and going, if this is something you're trying to do with an internal initiative, you can train them quickly and easily based on those best practices, which is kind of cheating into step 5 there a little bit, but it's great information to have. And again, I'll be happy to email you a blog calendar template that you can use for yourself and for your end. You can email me when we finish up this webinar today. Or email me now. I just won't check it until we finish up the webinar. 5th is writing your content and publishing your blogs with best practice. Just talked about that. I got ahead of myself a little bit there, but talked about that pretty in depth. Making sure that your blog title and your URL match the keyword you're trying to rank for pretty closely. You saw that on the accommodations for Spoleto Festival that we talked about earlier. You saw that in the Select Registry example with the getaways and the weekend getaways in Florida or romantic getaways in Florida, whichever keyword they were going after. Accommodations for Spoleto Festival example I clicked back to you for as well. So making sure that the keywords you're ranking for are used in the URL as well as in the title of your blog. So here you have the title, accommodations for Spoleto Festival, and then here's the URL. You don't want them to always be 100% match. You want them to be pretty close so that Google can find that and knows what you're writing about. You also want to set those same keywords as the alt text on images used within the blog. So use images to create, a fun, inviting blog that people want to read, and then use alt text to match your keywords to go after those specific titles in your blog. So hopefully those are 5 actionable steps that you can take today to get a better blog. I guarantee if you'll commit to these 5 steps, if you'll commit to 5 posts a month, that you will see more traffic to your website over a period of time, more keywords that you're ranked for, and again, over a period of time, more bookings coming in. This is a big part of the strategy we execute for our clients. I was reading a blog actually written by a peer in the industry who had just started a company, and he wrote a blog that was shared in kind of a think tank group we have of people in the industry, and it said, what happens when you blog 50 times in 25 days? He wrote this whole blog about how he blogged 50 times in 25 days and what that did to the traffic of his brand new company, brand new website. It quadrupled his traffic in those 25 days. So he quadrupled traffic to his website in 25 days by blogging 50 times. Now, granted, it was a brand new company, so he probably didn't have a lot of traffic in the first place, but I've seen his numbers, connected with him on that, and they're pretty impressive. Not saying you need to blog 50 times in 25 days. Typically don't recommend ever doing it more than once a day. But 5 times a month is a good goal to work towards. If you're already doing it 5 times a month, pat yourself on the back, give yourself an extra cookie, and go for 8 times a month because there's always more opportunities out there. And stay unique, stay creative with your titles and the keyword research you're doing to rank for more and more keywords. So today we moved really quick through that. Be happy to answer some questions, see some flashing in the chat panel going on in my GoToMeeting toolbar, so we'll get to those questions. Do want to touch on the homework here briefly, though, quickly. The homework today is the free Google Analytics audit. And this is to try to help you better understand how your website's performing, your top performing traffic sources, so where you're getting that traffic from, and then your top 10 keywords that are driving traffic to your website. So we will walk through that with you. We'll set up like a 10 to 15 minute call with you via GoToMeeting, and we'll walk through your Google Analytics with you and help you understand some of the things to see. We'll also help you understand some industry benchmarks that you can compare yourself to say, are we doing a good job here or not? You can do the search grader on your own, but we'd also be able to help you look at that and really analyze and understand what's going on with that information. So many innkeepers we talk to are like, yeah, I have Google Analytics installed, but I haven't looked at it for a year, or for forever, or whatever. But really encourage you to look at those Google Analytics, know what they mean, know where your traffic's coming from, because chances are if your traffic's coming from places, your bookings are probably coming from there as well. Just really encourage you to do that. And we're happy to walk through that with you. Just shoot me an email, reply to the email you got today inviting you to the webinar and sending you the login information saying you want to take advantage of the Google Analytics audit, and I will follow up with you personally and get that scheduled. Again, really just believing that if everybody in the industry is doing a better job at this, it's going to help all of us. All of us are going to benefit when we as a group come together and do our marketing better and more effectively. All right, we're going to get to the Q&A time. I held y'all late last week specifically because we were driving through a lot of information about social media. So it was right on time this week at 2:30. I lied, it's 2:32. I'm 2 minutes late. But wanted to get to some of these questions in the chat panel. So I'm going to back up here and get to a few of these. So I had a question about Select Registry doing pay per click for that ranking. Yeah, I addressed that a little bit earlier. I'm going to be honest, I cheated off your question a little bit earlier. I saw it in there and addressed that. But Select Registry may be doing pay per click. They probably are, but that's not where those rankings are coming from. Those are specifically organic rankings that you don't have to pay for. You just have to be willing to do the work for them by blogging and setting your site up effectively. Another question from a member today about doing search.grader.com to enter any search. You can enter any website into that. So your website, a competitor's website, an industry organization. You can enter anybody in there you want. It doesn't tell you recommended keywords. It just tells you 10 of the keywords they're ranked for. So we can see if we can bring our search grader back up here. Again, it tells me they have 1,360 keywords they're ranked for, but it only gives me 10 of the ones they're ranked for, which is a bummer, but it's a free service. So there's also paid software you can use to do this same thing that will give you more information. We just know that paying for stuff gets expensive, so this is a great free way to start that process. Jump on a few more of these questions here. I have a question. Well, I understand not blogging about breakfast. Our posts relative to food and recipes get the highest responses. Just saying. Yeah, absolutely. Specifically in social media, and you may be talking about comments on your blog as well. In social media, we really encourage you to share stuff about food and those types of things. You get great response on that. But with your blog, you really should be blogging about more stuff going on in your area. Again, understanding that blogging and social media are not the same thing. A lot of people lump blogging as an activity into social media and define it that way. In our opinion, it could be a part of social media, but it's really a different animal and should be approached differently altogether. So recipes and social media, a great way. Not saying don't write about recipes, I guess, but if you're doing it, it's probably not going to drive traffic to you. So know that and try to write your blogs. If you only can do so many a month, try to spend your time as effectively as possible writing about stuff that's going to get traffic back to you. And another question, can you share the 11-step process for blog posts? I can share some of it with you. We've kind of woven it into the conversation today. I'm not going to just lay it out and send you our guide, mostly because that's kind of our secret sauce, and we teach a lot of it, but it's something that's taken us a long time to really learn and develop, and you can't just lay that out there. If you become a client of ours, though, we do that on your behalf. Some of those steps are the keyword research we've talked about, making sure that the URL and the title is a part of that process as well. making sure that your photos are in there and that alt text is used. Make sure that you source your photos as well. If you use a photo that's not yours, make sure that you give the person who took it credit and make sure that it's not copyrighted, that you're not ripping it off. So that's good advice. There's a few other tips in there that aren't quite as important. Those are kind of the big ones that are really going to drive using the keyword in the URL. Those are the biggest things that are going to drive the success of your blog. So really encourage y'all to use those. Had a comment in here that you can blog about local restaurants, food, and fun. Absolutely, great stuff. Thanks for sharing that. Local restaurants that people are searching for, great thing to blog about. Fun activities in the area, great stuff to blog about. Anything that people are looking for on the internet is great. You know, my top seafood restaurants in my area, top southern restaurants in my area, top Italian restaurants, and when I say in my area, you should be replacing that with your city name. And again, thinking about it the way that people are thinking about searching your stuff. So, or searching Google for things in your area. But the idea here is we talked last week about the 4-step vacation process. If you weren't with us, I'll recap real quick. The Google released research that shows that the vacation process is actually 4 steps. Dreaming is step 1, planning is step 2, booking is step 3, and remembering is step 4. We're trying to get people to find us who are in the dreaming and planning phase. So they're looking for information on stuff in our area, they're planning their vacation, and when that planning phase, we want them to find us and consider us as an option when they're booking their trip to our area. If they don't ever find us, they might not ever know we exist. There's also a way to capture some traffic from hotels, and knowing that we compete with them a lot, we can capture traffic from people who may have stayed in a hotel, but they find us as an alternative. You know, we offer a lot more than hotels. It's a great way to capture traffic there. Had a question, do you recommend setting up blog posts automatically post on the Facebook forward page or manually posting link on the Facebook page with our comments? It's a great question. There are a ton of tools out there that will automate your posting from your blog to your social media. If you are time strapped and you don't have time to go to Facebook and make a post about a blog you just wrote, then yes, we recommend that you automate that update. But if you can take the extra 15 seconds it takes to write it manually on your own, you'll see the return on those 15 seconds, I guarantee it. So the real answer is no, we recommend you write it yourself because if you automate it, it's going to take your title and it's going to take maybe the first X number of characters from that post, 50 characters, or well, if it's characters, it'd be more, 140 characters, those types of things if it's Twitter, and it's going to just grab that. That might not be the most compelling thing in your post that's going to make people click back through. So in social media, and we talked about this in our social media webinar last week, we would really encourage you to share the title, share like a brief 1 to 2 sentence snippet on what it's about, and then engage and encourage people to engage. So if you've written about your favorite Italian restaurants, write something along the lines of, check out this blog for my 5 favorite Italian restaurants in Ohio. What are your favorite Italian restaurants, or what's your favorite Italian dish to get? So you posted the blog, you posted the link, posted what it's about, but then you've also asked a question to engage people back with you. So you've re-engaged them by asking that question at the end of your post. And if they engage with you, it encourages comments. The more comments, the more likes you have, the more viral your post goes, the more people see it. So if you just post a blog automatically to that feed, chances that you get engagement are very, very slim. But if you post it with a custom message and an engaging question at the end of it, you're much more likely to get engagement, and you're much more likely to get a post that spreads virally. Not like it's going to be the next Jeff Gordon video, if any of you caught that, the Jeff Gordon video that came out this week with him test driving the Camaro. If you haven't, Google that. You'll love it. But it's not going to be the next Jeff Gordon video, but it is a way to spread virally within the reach of your own group there. So that's all the questions we've kind of popped up in the chat panel here. If you have any other questions, we'll hang around for a few more minutes. I do want to touch on our next session, which is next week. It's our 4th boot camp in this series. Looking forward to wrapping that up with y'all. The next session, your #1 sales tool in a game-changing idea. kind of bait the hook there a little bit, specifically say there's some cool information that we're going to talk about on the webinar next week, maybe something you never thought about before, and how it can really transform the way your inn is doing business and the way your inn is booking rooms. So I'm going to talk with you about that. Looking forward to that. Again, that's Wednesday, March 27th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We will send out reminders as we have been throughout the session. If you haven't taken advantage of our marketing grader, that's available to you still. If you have, and I know many of you have, we'll be happy to connect with you for the free analytics audit. Just send me an email with that information. Be happy to get that over to you. This session will also be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. You can check it out there. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Q4Launch. And you can always invite any friends, other innkeepers that you know, share this information with them if it would be of value to them. So again, I'll hang around for a few minutes to answer any questions. If you have a question throughout the week, feel free to email me or call me as well. My email, you can just reply to the email that I've sent you. It's matt@Q4Launch.com. Again, Matt, M-A-T-T, at Q4Launch.com. You can also always connect with us on Facebook or give me a call directly, 843-475-2962, 843-475-2962. Thanks, y'all. Hope you've had a great time today. I've enjoyed chatting with you, and we'll talk to you next week, if not before.